Welcome to the Women Waves podcast. I'm Elisha Applebaum, an actress who's just done a series on Netflix called Fate, the Winx Saga.
And I'm Branwen, an actor and a producer producing TV adverts and short films.
We created this podcast to speak about the entertainment industry and the obstacles for women in it. We aim to inspire women to think big in a world where there are so many. Therefore, each episode we will have on a guest who is working in the entertainment industry and someone who aspires to do so. We have partnered with a brilliant charity, the Girls Network. Their mission is to inspire and empower girls from the least advantaged communities by connecting them with a mentor and a network of professional female role models. For each episode, we will invite one of their mentees or ambassadors, who is someone who has previously been mentored as part of their programme, to ask questions of our guest, share in our curiosity, and talk about their experience. You ready to make some waves, Bran?
Let's do it, Leash. With us today we have Soph, Aiseosa and Charlie. Soph, you are a spoken words artist, a performer, a writer. Do you want to kind of start by telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Hey, I'm Soph. I think Bran summed it up quite nicely. I'm an actor, writer, performer, poet. Fancy myself as a bit of a comedian, but we'll see. And I am from Manchester, living in London, just getting by, making work.
We've seen some of your spoken poetry, obviously online. It's just getting such a great viewing, which is amazing. And
yeah,
you're going to be doing a little performance for us at the end of this podcast, which is super exciting.
I certainly am, yes.
Aiseosa, if you want to kind of talk to us a little bit about yourself, what you've been up to and what it is that you're doing at the moment.
So I'm a first year studying at Cambridge. I study human, social and political science. So I've just been kind of working to getting around my first term. So that's a little bit about me.
Amazing. And you were part of the Girls Network, is that right, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, about a few years ago, yeah.
Amazing. And you're now an ambassador for the charity.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting. And Charlie, if you want to kind of talk to us a little bit about what it is you guys do and what the charity is about.
Of course. So the Girls Network is a mentoring charity for 14 to 19-year-old girls from the least advantaged communities around the country. And we match them one-to-one with professional women who act as mentors throughout the course of a year to build skills and confidence, but also to open up networks and opportunities that the girls might otherwise not have access to, so that they can be ambitious for their futures, and then we can support them to realise those ambitions. So we started the charity back in 2013. I used to be a teacher, and just recognised what we've come to call the double disadvantage facing some of the fantastic young women we were teaching, whereby because they were girls, people had certain expectations about how they should behave, how they should look, the kinds of things they should aspire to. And often many were coming from communities where fantastic adults in their lives, but often they weren't sort of pursuing careers they were passionate about necessarily. So brilliant young women that I was teaching who wanted to be criminal psychologists, architects, actors, writers, didn't believe they could do it because they saw nobody like them doing that. And it just felt like such an injustice to us. You know, we could see the potential and the capability, we could see the drive. So how was it fair that they felt they weren't able to do that because of who they were and where they were born and the fact that they were girls? So that was really the impetus for setting up the charity. We've been running it for nearly 8 years now, working with over 1,000 girls a year. Fantastic young women like Aiseosa, who spoke at one of our big events a few years ago, very inspiringly, led many in the audience to suggest she should be our future Prime Minister. And she's subsequently done lots since. Even a great photographer. The other week I needed some photos, and so I had a great photo shoot, probably the best photos I have now. Yeah, we have an amazing network, and it's a real privilege to work with people like Aiseosa.
And it's so nice that you kind of still have relationships with the girls even after the program's ended. I guess that's kind of quite an important thing to keep that relationship going.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, it's a really important year, the mentoring and the building of skills and confidence, but actually we want there to be a network of support and inspiration for as long as possible. So the girls at the end of the year of mentoring become an ambassador, and they can continue to engage with the women and the opportunities within our network start to give back to the network as well, to the mentees in the programme. And we hope one day they'll come back and be mentors for us themselves.
Oh, that's so exciting. And thank you so much for getting involved in this. It's really nice to be able to connect people with each other, people working in the industry and also people from the charity, but also record it as a podcast so that other people who are listening might kind of hear about the Girls Network and pass on the information that they've heard. So thank you so much for getting on board.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for involving us.
The Girls Network is currently looking for mentors in 7 regions in England: Sussex, Portsmouth, Manchester, the West Midlands, Merseyside, the North East and Tees Valley, and you can find out more and apply via their website. If you live in London, there are opportunities for you to get involved as a mentor later in spring this year. All you have to do is sign up to the waiting list on their website and you'll be notified when applications reopen. You might also like to record a short video sharing your experience or advice, or even do some fundraising. You can get all the latest updates by following them on their Twitter @TheGirlsNet or on Instagram @TheGirlsNetwork.
So the plan of this podcast is so that we can have a bit of fun, talk about females in the industry. What we'll do is we will start with a sort of like game. We're going to give you guys a genre. We're going to give you guys a budget. And we want you to create a film for us, like your dream cast, your dream director. We're going to create a comedy. And we are going to give you £20 million to create this comedy movie. So if we go for Soph first. Soph, who would be your dream cast? Who would you want?
Oh my God, what a question. Myself, Daisy May Cooper.
You know what? So you're doing a series, aren't you? Like a web series called Hooch.
I am, yes.
Yes. So that is giving me some serious Daisy May Cooper vibes.
Well, this country, I took massive inspiration from this country, and also Mandy. Have you seen Mandy on BBC with Diane Morgan? Bloody hell, it's funny. But yeah, no, I actually sent Hooch to Daisy before I posted it and got some advice and was like, do you like it? And she was like, gave it the thumbs up. So that's why I posted it.
I was going to say to you, because I saw that she's been quite supportive of you and like your videos, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely got a similar vibe. That kind of humour that covers real topics but is also so funny.
Yeah, kind of like mockumentary style. Yeah, she's massive support. I kind of see her as a bit of a mentor, really. I tell her, she rings me sometimes and we have a chat about what I'm up to and opportunities I've had, and she gives advice and things like that, so it's really great. But yeah, she'd be in my cast. Jodie Comer, because Jodie Comer. Sarah Paulson, because I may or may not have a bit of a crush on Sarah Paulson. So she can be in the cast. And Melissa McCarthy, because she is just hilarious. Can you imagine a film with those women? Christ, I dedicate my life to that film.
What would it be about?
I don't know. Maybe it could be mockumentary. Or maybe they could all play a character that they've played before. Like, imagine putting Villanelle in this country with Kerry Mucklow and Curtin. Like, wouldn't that just be like Ace TV? Something like that. I think would be brilliant.
Aiseosa and Charlie, have you got an idea as to what film you'd create?
I mean, that's quite hard to top that, really. I mean, I quite like Aisling B. I might throw her into the mix as well. I find her absolutely hilarious. And maybe Lou Sanders. This might slightly be influenced by the fact that I've watched quite a lot of Taskmaster in the pandemic, and they've both been on it and been superb. So maybe we can get some like hilarious tasks in this film as well. I don't know.
Aiseosa, who would be your favourite actress to go in there? Who would be your ideal, even director, camera person? I mean, you're an avid photographer, so you could
me then.
Why not give yourself a role?
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Aiseosa's mentor, Nat, is one of our team members as well. She is an amazing writer. So she wrote a short play that she went to RADA, and they have like an alumni showcase. So maybe we can get her involved as well.
Amazing.
Keep it in the family.
Yeah. Bring her on. Love that. Cool. I don't know who I'd want. I think I'd like comedy-wise, I really love Maya Rudolph. I think she's absolutely brilliant. Like the whole cast of Bridesmaids. You know, they were all friends before they made the film. They all did it together.
Really? You can see
Yeah.
that kind of natural chemistry on set. If they're kind of friends already, then they're just being themselves, really.
Yeah. It's mad. But we do need some more female films in the industry. I think Branwen and I were looking at female-led films today, and I think we only found like 2 pages worth of female-led films. A lot being like romantic movies or about girls being the stereotypical girls who are going shopping.
Yeah.
Or like chick flick.
Yeah,
chick
like
flicks.
chick flicks. Women.
That's all girls can do, didn't you know?
Oh,
We can only be romantic and go
Oh,
shopping.
I forgot.
Did no one
No
tell
one
you that?
told me that.
no.
Oh
Silly
my
me.
god, I'm so sorry that you didn't know
I've been
that.
doing it wrong this whole time.
Where have you going wrong? Goodness.
Did you ever see Ocean's 8? That was quite a good one. That was Rihanna, wasn't it? I think she was.
I did. Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen any of the Oceans yet, and I'm probably a very terrible female actress for not have seen it. But it's never really appealed to me for some reason.
You don't need to watch any of them but that one.
I say if you've seen none of them, then it's not about the female casting. It's just about the genre, right?
True.
True.
The heist is clearly not for you. I really enjoyed the series that Reese Witherspoon's company's done. So both Big Little Lies and Little Fires Everywhere or Small Fires Everywhere.
Yeah.
I thought they've been brilliant. And the development of characters in that and the depth to which they go, it's just absolutely phenomenal.
The characters are amazing. You can tell they've really thought about their backstories and like put so much thought into the stories and the ideas. Really well produced as well. The production is just incredible.
Yeah, I watched a series recently called The Wilds on Amazon Prime. I'm telling everyone to watch it. It's phenomenal. It's about some girls who obviously have very difficult backgrounds and end up kind of like Lord of the Flies, end up stranded on a desert island. But there's so much more to it, and it's sick. And it's all female cast, all female led. It's incredible.
What's it called?
The Wilds.
The Wilds. Okay,
I'm going to write that down.
I've got a list that's just ongoing of things I need to watch.
I know, it's horrible, isn't it?
I started watching a new one on BBC iPlayer the other day called Industry, and it's directed by Lena Dunham. She's one of those people that's like great actor, director, producer all in one.
I think I saw the first episode of Industry, and I was a bit like taken aback. Females in series and movies at the moment seem to be expressing themselves very well by being naked. And I think it's fine if you want to tell a story in that way, but I just feel like women have so much more to offer than their bodies.
Yeah, 100%.
Soph, obviously you're writing now. How did you get into writing? What inspired you to start writing?
I think because I started as just an actor, and, you know, actors will know that it's a very boring job. Unless you're working, there's nothing else to do. So I think I was bored of being bored. I was just sat around waiting for opportunities to come to me. And I think for a while I felt like that was just the life of an actor, and everyone does it, so I've just got to shut up and get on with it and wait for my time, basically. And then, you know, once lockdown, you know, when lockdown happened last year and things like that, and the industry dried up like more than usual, it became 10 times harder to find opportunities, was when I decided that maybe I'll just write something of my own, and hopefully eventually get the confidence to post it. So it was more that I felt like I reached a point where I had to, because I was just so bored of waiting for opportunities, that I needed to make the opportunity for myself.
How did you find, once you did kind of find that confidence to post it initially? Because I know that's such a scary thing nowadays. It's almost like whatever you post on social media, it's like everyone is going to see it, and like it's quite a big thing now, isn't it? And I think having the courage to kind of think, well, whatever, this is something I've created and I want to share with the world, so I'm going to do it. And it's obviously worked in your favor massively, I think, with everything that's been happening. So how did you feel when you initially released it to the world, in a way?
I think I was, like, don't get me wrong, I was so scared, because I think when there's a different kind of pressure when you've written something yourself. If I was posting a performance of me performing somebody else's script, it's totally different, because I'm not being judged on that. I'm being judged on my performance. But I think sharing your writing is for me anyway quite intimate, especially because of the things that I write about. And the first piece that I posted was about grief, which is obviously very, very close to me and a big part of who I am now. And I think that helped in me posting it, because I don't know, I almost felt it was like part of my healing process was that I needed to post this. So I think if it wasn't about that particular subject, it might have been a bit different, and I might have found it a bit harder to get the courage to post something. But I think because of what it was about, created a path for me to follow, if that makes sense. But obviously that's quite subjective to me. I think generally, if people are worried about posting things, show your friends, show your honest friends. Don't show your friends that will go, that's really good, even if it's not. Show your friends that are going to be like, I think you should change this, or why don't you try this? Or, I think getting opinions is good. And just sending it to as many people as possible. I send my work, I'd say for every 100 people I send my work to, I get one response. And that one response could generate me such interest, if they share my work or anything like that.
And I guess that's the thing that people don't see, isn't it? Is the 99 other people that didn't reply. But it only takes that one person to listen. And I think people kind of, especially with social media, it's quite hard to see that actually it is a struggle, and people do work really hard to get to where they get to, but you just don't really see that side of it. And it's important to remember that, everyone gets rejection and goes through that.
Oh my God, so much rejection. And it was actually Daisy May Cooper that posted that first piece about grief, that then built that. She almost gave me the platform to share my work, because since she posted that, has now given me the confidence to post loads of stuff. And I have like a nice following that really support everything I do. And that was because she was that one person out of 100 that decided to help me. So yeah, that's all it takes.
Amazing.
Can I ask, so, and I think this will probably be quite helpful for people in different contexts as well. Like, how do you deal with it when you get a lot of rejections? What are the tools you use to sort of keep yourself motivated and going, despite that? Because that must be quite disheartening. I know we talk a lot, to our girls about that as well, and how you deal with sort of rejection or what feels like failure at the time. What do you do to help yourself get through it?
I think I go really up and down. So I think it's important to note that it's fine and it's normal to feel quite upset and think, God, I've been rejected 99 times. I'm shit. No one wants to listen to everyone hates me. No one likes my work. I'm never going to get anywhere. Like, those are thoughts that I do have as well. But then I sit and I think about how desperately I want this, and I think that, and I just have to remind myself that how many people there are in the world, and it's only this small amount of people that didn't reply to me. And I think it's easy to think that people aren't replying to you because they don't like you. I think our automatic response is, God, they hate me. Whereas actually, they're probably really busy. They've got thousands of other emails or messages on Instagram or whatever, and they just don't have the time to open it and watch or read your stuff. And that's fine. And I think it's about accepting that that's okay to not receive a reply. You're not owed a reply off everyone that you speak to. So yeah, I think it's about just reminding yourself how badly you want it and having to sieve through those no's to get a yes. The more no's you get, the more yeses you'll get.
Yeah.
I think is what I like to think.
That's amazing.
God, that was inspiring.
That was so inspiring. The passion overrides all, it seems.
Oh, always. If you want something enough, you'll get it. That's what I like to believe.
And Aiseosa, you do photography. So how have you found, like, obviously I know it's a different kind of field, but anything creative, I think, always has that kind of level of, it's something that you're passionate about, but then it can sometimes be quite tricky to start in a way. So how have you kind of found that process, and how did you kind of get into photography to begin with?
So my journey into photography was during my final years at secondary school, and I think a friend needed a photo for like her art GCSE, and she was like, "Oh, you're good at taking pictures. Would you be able to do it?" And I did it, and then everyone was like, "Oh, I'm actually quite good." And then from there, I kind of just grew. It wasn't really like, oh, I was interested. Kind of like, not by accident, I don't like to use that word, but it wasn't something I went out of my way to experiment with. I kind of just discovered that, wow, I'm quite good and I actually enjoy this. I might as well develop a skill and then see. And then I think along the line, your passion for it grows. And that's kind of how I got into photography.
Amazing.
Also, like, being able to have the confidence to go, you know what, I'm actually very good at this. Like, I'm going to continue doing that is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
You have to sometimes like realize that you're gonna have to be the one to identify a gift. Not everyone's gonna like say, "Oh yeah, you're good." So
yeah, you don't need validation from anyone else but yourself. I like it.
And it's also good that, like, sometimes when it's not something that you think you want to do, like you were saying, you never kind of planned this. It just happened when someone told you, "Oh, you're really good at that." And then you kind of think, okay, maybe I will pursue it. And then doing it that way is so much more natural, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think that you want to do something so much because that's what you've been trying to do for ages. And then you just sit back and you realise, I don't love this anymore. So why am I pushing for it? Whereas you can be doing something else, like photography, that's just kind of come to you and realise, oh, this is actually amazing. This is something I want to do. But it's not because I'm forcing myself to want to do it.
And it's like good to remember that it's never too late to start something. Like I think it was, I don't know if it was Judi Dench or if it was Meryl Streep, or it wasn't Meryl Streep. I think it may have been Judi Dench, and she started out in her career, I think when she was 40, 50.
Wow.
And then and she's loving it. She's having the best time. She's doing what she was set out to do. So I think it just takes that one time of taking a photo of your friend at GCSE to become a photographer if you want to become one. So if you could give yourself some advice to your younger self, what would you say?
I think I would tell myself to be patient, because when I was, at college, for example, I really had I had the wrong attitude, and I was too cocky, and in my head I thought, I don't need to go to uni, I don't need to go to drama school, I'm just going to fall out of college into my dream job and it's going to come to me, because why wouldn't it? And honestly, it sounds awful saying it now, but that is genuinely what I thought. And I remember looking at my friends like, why are you wasting your time going and doing that and going to uni when you could literally just go into it? And isn't that awful? Because that is so far from the truth. So I think I tell myself to take it down a notch, be patient, and be patient.
Yeah.
It's a long game.
About you, ladies?
There are a few things I'd probably say to myself. Probably the biggest one would be to worry less about pleasing people and keeping people happy and doing the things that people expect of you. Like, I very much internalized the idea that I was meant to go to university, get a job, fall in love, get married, buy a house, have children. And I did quite a lot of that, and then not all of it worked out. And I think I've learned from that actually what's much more important are the things that make me happy and give me energy, and that actually generally makes people around me that care about me happier anyway. Trying to be somebody or not doesn't really work. I think I got quite good at being somebody I was not at points to keep people happy, but it doesn't work long term. So I think just telling myself that, just be who you are and concentrate on working out what are the things that make you happy. Like, how do you like to spend your time? I think that was probably what I'd say to myself.
Well done you for taking a step back and going, nah, this is not for me.
It's all the learning from mistakes, though, isn't it?
You have to. It's all experience.
Yeah, gives you good stories.
Love a good story. Love a good anecdote.
One thing I think I've learned through like photography specifically is that it's okay to like give people free content. Especially with photography, when you first start out, you kind of think about money and how much you're going to be paid, but you forget that people want to see a portfolio. And if people don't see anything, then how are they going to hire you? So one thing I think I learned later on is that it's okay to work with people, and then once you have content and once you have a portfolio to show people, then you can start saying these are my fees, and that's how you kind of grow.
It's so important as well, like you were saying, once you do get to that level where you've built your portfolio and stuff, then you do kind of realize, okay, I've got enough now I can start charging for my work. And I think doing that is equally as important, because I think there's, especially in the creative industry, but in any industry really, people can take advantage of people just starting out in terms of their content and be like, asking for things for free. And we do it. We've so many times we've kind of done things, and when you're building your portfolio, I think that's acceptable and it's good to do that. But as soon as it kind of goes beyond that, I think it's important to recognize that you're worth more than just giving out free things to people, if that makes sense.
I think it goes back to your former point as well, Aiseosa, as well, about like valuing, and sometimes it's you that needs to put the value on your work. You can't rely on other people to do it. Sometimes you then have to say, well, I know my worth, I know my value, and this is how much it's worth, and therefore if you want it, you've got to pay for it. So I think that sort of links really nicely to what you said earlier as well, Aiseosa.
I think it's a really interesting conversation I was having with my housemate actually just yesterday about the same thing, about working for free and how long should you do that for. And we were discussing that really you should only work for free if what you're getting out of it is priceless. So for example, with the portfolio, you need that to make money. You show real material, you do that scene for free, because in the future that scene's going to get you money. Do you know what I mean? So I think we so often do things unpaid and are not getting anything out of it, and I think that's really wrong. And I think we should only do things unpaid if it's benefiting us in a way that money wouldn't at this point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say to your younger self, Bran?
I was thinking people pleasing is probably my main one as well, Charlie. I think, just kind of realizing that the only person, obviously you need to be there for people and be a caring person, but if you can't be there for yourself, then you're not really able to be there for other people. And I think it's learning that isn't a selfish thing to do. I think so often we kind of think if you put your needs first, especially as women, like we're kind of, that's almost what we've been taught through media and just through, social conditioning, that you have to kind of put everyone else first and then think about yourself. And actually, to really be there for other people, you have to put yourself and your own needs first. And I think that's definitely something I'd probably say to my younger self, is to just stop giving a shit about what everyone thinks of you, because you're not going to be able to get everyone to like you anyway. So there's no point trying. You might as well just be yourself, and the ones who matter will be there. And then, yeah. What about you, Leash?
I think, yeah, I think exactly the same. I think looking after myself is a big factor. I definitely would put myself through the ringer to realise that actually it didn't benefit me. And then until things got terrible, then I would be able to go, maybe I should be looking after myself a bit more instead of giving everyone else my time. So I completely agree with you.
I read an amazing book over lockdown. It's a little old, I think, from maybe the 80s or so. But it's called What Do Women Want? And it's not the film with
Thank goodness.
as much as I thought it might be. But it's written by two psychoanalysts that work specifically with women and girls. And they look at how, particularly as women, we're conditioned to meet people's needs and be caregivers. And actually the net result of that is we're very, very good at knowing how to meet other people's needs. We're often not very good at knowing what our own needs are, because we've not been conditioned to do that. And the dynamics that plays out with in relationships with friends and siblings and romantic relationships, absolutely fascinating. I can't off the top of my head remember who wrote it. Susie Orbach, I think, was one of the authors, but it is a really good read.
I read something similar. I can't remember what it was from, that kind of touched on that as well, about how these little behaviours that we think are normal, when actually when you step out of it and you realise. And I think one of them was like birthdays. So like in a relationship, often it's the woman who's expected to remember that it's so-and-so's birthday today. And if you don't remember, then the man is often like, why didn't you remind me that it's their birthday today? When why is it the woman's job to remember that? Do you know what I mean? And it's just small things like that. You think, actually, yeah, why do women kind of have that responsibility compared to men?
It's like when women don't want to have kids. People can't believe that women don't want to have kids.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I read something that was like, we're living in a world that men have created, and so the women are forgotten about and do the unpaid work that no one really knows about. So the caregiving, the dropping the kids off to school, like even transport, all the bus links go into the city. And so women who need to get on the bus to drop kids off to school and stuff, the bus would have to go all the way around the city where the men would be going into to be the so-called breadwinners. And it's just all this unpaid work that females find difficult to do because we're living in a world made for men. I mean, that's a very big statement, but it's a book that I read.
There's definitely truth, isn't there, that historically the working world was largely men. I mean, in some areas it still is, and therefore a lot of the structures and the systems put in place were designed by and for men. And so some of the systems that we're trying to change now are those to make it such that women don't have to change themselves to fit the system, but the system works for everybody. And they're quite broad and crude statements, sort of splitting men and women, and obviously it's not true for all, but you just look at the data and you see that are really big trends for that. It's also interesting thinking about the impact that COVID has had, and there's quite a lot of research coming out showing how, particularly around gender pay gaps, a lot of the gender pay gap is going to be hidden this year because of furlough. So it's going to look like it's got better, where in reality it will be just as bad. And also the burden of, as you were saying, Elisha, sort of the caregiving and the unpaid work often in the home, the burden of that again has unsurprisingly fallen on women. And it will be very interesting to see in more detail after this period of time if that set us back in terms of how much those kinds of roles are split evenly across genders.
God, I didn't even think about that.
No, same. There's probably going to be a lot of like hidden things because of using COVID as an excuse to kind of cover up.
Yeah, or it's just easy to slip back into old habits as well when things get tough. Doing things that maybe at the time take more energy, I think probably fall away.
I was going to ask Aiseosa, how did you find working with your mentor when you were a mentee at the Girls Network a few years ago? Because it's a year programme, isn't it? So how did you find kind of working closely with another woman that was there to kind of mentor you and help you?
It was fantastic. I think it's just nice to be or to regularly meet up with somebody who's just interested in you, more than just, you know, your other parts of your life, but more about your personal life. And it's kind of nice just to spend time with somebody who's actually going to listen and actually help you. Sometimes we can listen to other people's goals, but we're not in a place to help. But it's nice when someone can actually help you achieve those goals.
Amazing.
So that was just a bit about my experience, but I thought and it's really useful, especially when you're kind of in your late teens. It's kind of what you need, someone to kind
Definitely.
of just guide you on the right track.
Yeah, and I guess like you can have role models and people that you look up to that's in, you know, books and in the media, but having an actual person that you're able to go and meet every week must have been quite a, you know, a good thing for you to have.
Yeah. Before you start meeting up with your mentor, we kind of go to like events where all the girls and all the mentors are there together, and then you can kind of have like speed dating, but kind of with your mentor. So you're in a comfortable position where you can talk to them and kind of get to know them before you kind of meet off one to one.
And do you still have a relationship with your old mentor?
I spoke to her yesterday, so yeah,
Oh,
we do.
I thought you would.
We do. Yeah, we do.
I feel like everyone needs a mentor in their life. Like just for every day general life, just having a chat. So important.
I think everyone should be a mentor and have a mentor. Is my view. I mean, I would say that because I run a mentoring charity, but keeping myself in business. No, but I just think it's so valuable. Be it formal or informal, the stuff you can learn having a mentor, but also mentoring somebody else is amazing. And I think it's so interesting talking to a lot of our mentors who will come back to us and go, I feel a bit bad because I'm getting as much out of this as I think my mentee is. I'm learning so much from my mentee. It's making me think about, you know, my own confidence, my own decisions. We've had mentors that have changed careers because they'd sort of secretly always wanted to, but hadn't really addressed it until they were asking their mentee questions like, you know, what are you passionate about? What's standing in your way from achieving this? And then couldn't help but play it back to themselves and sort of think, if I'm giving this advice, maybe I should take it. And then make amazing career changes and end up being, you know, so much more fulfilled in this new thing they've done, feeling they've got the confidence to do something. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm a big advocate.
Of course, it's brilliant. Bran, you've been doing some mentoring, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've been doing it's quite similar, but it's more towards just the creative industry. It's called Creative Mentor Network, and you probably heard of it. It's
yeah. Brilliant.
So it's like a similar program where you're partnered with a mentee, and it's normally someone who's interested in the types of stuff that you put on your application. So you could say, for example, you know, I'm a producer, so I put a lot of filmmaking stuff and, you know, talked about that. And then my mentee, Serena, who's amazing, I was partnered with her and she's kind of just getting into filmmaking. She's also a photographer. And we've just been having it's been a bit difficult, obviously, because of bloody COVID. So we haven't had an opportunity to meet in person, but we've been having weekly calls with each other. And it's kind of just exactly what you were saying, Charlie. It's like you're giving advice, and then as you're saying it, you're thinking to yourself, hang on, I need to take this as well, because it's all very well me kind of giving it out, but it's important to take it too. And I've honestly got more. I feel like I've got just as much out of her than she might have had from me, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's definitely an amazing thing, and I agree with you, Elisha. I think like everyone should have a mentor and also be a mentor at some point in their lives.
I think it was Simon Sinek that was saying recently that mentoring really is not a top-down relationship at all. It's entirely a relational thing, and it's about being on the same page, and it's about sharing in different ways. And obviously, you know, being a mentor, there is something encapsulated there about you've got experience of something that your mentee wants. But the reality with every relationship is you've always got different bits of experience that each can learn from, and you both give into and put into that relationship, and then you both grow from it.
Which leads you on to the question, Aiseosa. Do you reckon you would ever become a mentor at the Girls Network? Is that something you've ever thought about? Charlie's like, please, please, please.
I would.
From doing it as well, you'll have so much more to be able to give because you've been in their shoes.
So you understand better what it's like, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, we'll have the contract ready for you after this, Aiseosa, for you to become. Do you feel, as women, that you've been represented in the media the way that you want to be represented? Do you feel like there's a gap in the market for people like yourselves?
Generally, no, we're not represented the way that we should be represented. That is down to a very long history of, if we're speaking, just regards to theatre, men are writing for women. Men are writing their perspective on women. Even back to like Greek theatre, men used to play women. Do you know what I mean? As in, because women weren't allowed to the theatre, they weren't allowed to watch theatre, they weren't allowed to be part of it. So, stemming right back from that still has an effect on us now, in the fact that there's too many female characters that have been written by men. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying men can't write female characters, because obviously they can, the same way that I can write a male character. But with regards to representation, it isn't true to our experience. But again, that goes down to there aren't enough female-led organisations, directors, writers, things like that, which hopefully will change in the future, if we carry on fighting for it. But I think, to answer your second question about, what was your second question? Remind me.
It's, do you feel like you've been represented? Do you yourself, as Soph, feel like you have been represented?
No, I don't. And if I found bits of myself represented, it's never a truthful representation. So I pride myself on being northern, being working class, and being gay. And if I put those three things together and I try and think of, I struggle to think of what represents me in a truthful way with regards to those three huge parts of myself, which is another reason why I'm writing. It's because I'm writing that character, that northern gay working class character, which again goes back to people not writing about their experiences. So, Charlie from Cambridge writes about people in Manchester being working class. What does Charlie from Cambridge know about being from Manchester and being working class? Nothing. So I think it goes back to, we need to write about our own experiences as women, and they need to be truthful to us.
So just on that, like, one of your spoken words videos that I saw, I think it's the Counsellor State of Mind. So that one in particular it just really spoke to me on so many levels, because you kind of cover, what it was like growing up from a working class background, and the struggles you've overcome, but also the amazing things that you had as well from having that experience. And you kind of end it with talking about how it's, it's a perfect imperfection. And I think that type of stuff, that type of message is so important, especially at the moment, to kind of let people know that no matter what background you come from, you can be whoever you want to be, but you also should never forget about where you came from, because it's actually amazing, and that's kind of what's going to make you who you are. And remembering those kind of quirks, and that, you know, those things are what you should be really proud of.
It adds character. It makes you, it makes you different. It makes you stand out. And I think for so long, we've tried to oppress those things that make us different and make us stand out. And now is the time to really embrace them. Like, I have a field day when I'm filling out an equal ops form now, whereas back in the day, I was embarrassed about all these boxes I had to tick, and I was like, gosh, I don't want to tell anyone about that. And now I'm like, bloody hell, give me the equal ops form. Like, you know, all these things we should be so proud of about ourselves, not only as women, but as people.
Yeah.
It's important to pride ourselves on all of that.
100%.
Yeah. It's so important to kind of get writers and directors and producers and actors and anyone in the industry to kind of really understand what it is that what the messages that they're trying to, you know, give. And I think so often we see things where we just don't believe it, because we know you've got no idea what that's like, or, you know, you haven't done enough research into how this is or whatever. And I think that's so important that we get more and more writers that have actually experienced those things,
especially underrepresented groups. I must stress that, like, it's the underrepresented groups that I have an issue with people writing about, because they're underrepresented. Let them write for themselves. Let them tell you their experience. Don't tell them their experience. I think that's where the issue lies.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you find the rhyming element in that? Like, because you obviously want to, everything you're saying makes perfect sense and you've just nailed it. But I always, whenever I'm listening to it, I often wonder, like, how did she find all these rhymes?
I think content is key. So, you know, don't just, I don't just put a line in because it rhymes. Like, God, that'll sound gorgeous if I pop that there. I think, like, first have your content, and then once you have your content, your idea, I go on, there's this website called, like, it's basically words that rhyme with other words. And I have that up on my screen. So then I'll think of a word, and then I'll go on thesaurus, and then because I struggled a lot with English as a kid. So, like, I'm not good at spelling at all, and I'm not good at putting words together and sentences and things like that. So, you know, things like the internet, I have no shame in saying that, you know, I will use the thesaurus, and I'll use these websites to help me find new words to use to express myself. But yeah, I think content is key, and if you can find something that rhymes, then, you know, nailed it. That's even better.
Okay, so we're gonna finish off with a final question. What empowers you the most as a female? Just so that people can know what gets us ticking as a woman.
I think as a young Black woman, when I see spaces that I want to be in, and I look and I don't see people that look like me, that makes me want to be there. So I think sometimes it's kind of like when you are frustrated that you're not represented, I think, well, I'm not going to wait for someone else to represent me. I'll represent myself.
Love it.
And then from there, I can inspire or encourage other people not to wait for somebody else to do what they could easily do. I think sometimes with, like, ethnic minorities, we kind of say, oh, there's no representation. But it's good enough that we have these conversations, but we can represent ourselves. We don't have to wait for somebody else to do the job. I think that's one thing I'm learning. Don't wait for other Black people to do something you could do. So you can start the change is one thing that I guess empowers me.
You are a phenomenal human being, Aiseosa.
And you're in Cambridge University in your first year. I mean, can I just say that is
go on, girl.
I I'm interested to know how, because obviously Cambridge and Oxford, they're kind of known to have this reputation of, being a certain kind of establishment where, you have to come from this background if you go to Cambridge or whatever. But obviously you're proving that that is not true and you can do whatever you want to do, which is just incredible. But how did you find when you first kind of, went there? Did you have any struggles with anything? Was there anything that you realized, okay, I'm going to have to, do things differently? Or did you, like, how was your experience?
I think, let me start with the positive. Cambridge is fantastic. I think that's one thing. Don't always focus on the negatives, but um, I felt so uncomfortable in my first few weeks. I told my mum and my dad, like, this, you just felt so out of place. Like, people had told me what it was like in these sort of spaces, but when you're there, you really see that you're such a small minority. Like, I knew I was a minority, but then you're like surrounded by people that are different. But I think one thing I'm learning is that that's just how those institutions are, and the only thing I can do is make sure that I'm there and that I'm making sure other people like me are going to be in those places. But it is quite challenging. There's so many things that in Cambridge I've had to adjust to. Even like with my hair, I can't buy hair products for myself in Cambridge. I have to buy them in London and take them to Cambridge because people don't cater for my type of hair, and that's fine. I had to, think about these things before I went to the university. But one thing I think I've learned is not to allow these things to discourage me, because some Black people or some ethnic minorities won't want to go to these spaces because they know that you can't find the food that you like or you can't meet people like yourself. But I think one thing I just say to people is that don't let these things cause you not to be in those spaces, because then if every person from an ethnic minority says that, then who's going to be the one to go? We'll all say, oh, but they don't cater for me. But yeah, Cambridge is great, but at the same time, there's work to be done.
That's a massive step for you to take as one person, and that's phenomenal that you're doing that for yourself as well as everyone else. So please have this mentor signature by the end. Because
I mean, I suppose it's not just going to be a mentor. She's going to run the world one day. Like, honestly, lining up for him. I mean, actually, my answer to your question about what empowers me is actually quite easy. It's working with people like Aiseosa. Like, my life is great because I am daily inspired by absolutely phenomenal girls and young women doing amazing things, showing such resilience through challenging times, particularly through this pandemic, being really creative and enterprising and positive and determined to bring about change in the world. Like, it gives me hope every single day for the future in these awful times. Sometimes, I know it's going to be okay because we've got people like Aiseosa who are doing the wonderful things she's doing, and the amazing mentors we work with as well, who also believe in that and are willing to give up their time and their energy to bring about change and to just support each other and to be there, and through the good times and the tough times. So that's what empowers me.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, girls, for coming on to our podcast. First episode.
Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you for opening up and sharing all your thoughts and your views with us. It's been so heartwarming.
It's been brilliant to take part of it.
Let's get Soph to do her amazing poetry.
Yeah, baby.
And this is called Pride?
This is called Pride, yes. Just a trigger warning for anyone listening. There is themes of sexual harassment in this piece, and also a bit of swearing. We like a bit of swearing. Okay. We owe our freedom to our LGBTQ plus family. They have paved the way for us to exist today. I'm going to take it back to 1969, the start of the rise of our time. If you were gay, you were nothing but the enemy. Described as mentally ill, sick in the head, you'd be lucky to survive and not end up dead. You'd be sent to a camp of conversion to try and heal you of your perversion, so they called it. The original LGBT flag was hand-dyed and consisted of 8 symbolic colours to represent all the gay oppressed lovers, Pride is being proud of who you are despite facing discrimination daily and then some. So before you ask me why there isn't a straight pride, just be thankful that you don't need one. I personally believe I was born gay. It's always been part of my DNA. Growing up, I was made to feel disgusted by who I liked. You fancy women and you're a woman, but that's not all right. My search history would consist of how to be straight. I can't feel feelings for him, nothing more than a mate. I tried so hard I'd get myself into a state. I just needed to learn how to communicate what I was feeling, how to let go of the part of myself I was concealing. I was cramped in the closet, it was unappealing, but I'm ready to share, I'm ready to reveal it. I grew up believing lesbian was a dirty word. Hearing of same-sex female couples was unheard. Our love interest results in us being physically attacked. That isn't dramatic or fabricated, it's actual facts. I think it's crazy that who I love pisses off so many people. Is it too much to ask to just be equal? Straight couples will be snogging at the back of the bus and I can't even hold my girlfriend's hand without attracting a fuss. The whispers and glares, I know I shouldn't care, but it happens everywhere. If I had £1 for each time, I'd be a fucking millionaire. Are you ignorant or just unaware? You're making me uncomfortable like I shouldn't be there. Didn't your mum ever teach you that it's rude to stare? In reality, you homophobes are the so-called perverts. I don't want to be straight anymore. I don't want to convert. Don't forget that pride is a protest. We are oppressed. We will fight for equality until the end. We won't rest. I've learned to be proud of who I am, to take pride in being gay because I can. And to every non-binary person or self-identifying woman or man, never forget how pride began. Marsha P. Johnson, a black trans woman.